请支持我刘备。
Hi TSB. Hi Blade Terval. Hi Darth Tyron.
完成了。
Hello Hazardous. Hello Robostall.
哈哈哈，交给我吧。
The lore rubber. Squeak, squeak, squeak,
我
squeak.
有事禀告。
Good afternoon, Walker. And hello, Mellowtooth.
"请支持我刘备。
I tend to use Firestone, Hazardous.
听我说，
That's what you mean. Hello, Lined Office.
有什么事吗？
This did come out in the NES era. That is actually correct. In fact, there you go. There's the NES game right there. It looks a little different, but it's not really. I mean, I've lived in the South for a while, Hazardous, but back when I used to live in a place that was very hot and very cold, depending on the season, I would usually still get the all-year models. They're dependable enough to be worth the investment, and yada yada yada.
请遵命令。
Wait, really? That's random, too.
有什么事吗？
So you may not notice we're back in the tutorial. I had a theory. Theory I've been trying to test, and failing at. Would you like to hear something really pathetic and terrible?
禀告。
So I did 3 things during my lunch break other than eat lunch. First, I looked up how the difficulty settings in this game work. We'll talk about that in a minute. Second, I looked up, basically, I was trying to find out advanced strategies in the game. You know, YouTube guides, that kind of thing. In order to try and see what the hell I was doing wrong. The third thing I did was I started the tutorial over again. You're thinking, well, of course you did, Laura. You're playing it right now. No. No, this is my second time to the tutorial because I already failed it. Again.
我有事禀告。
I am not bad at strategy games. That's not bragging, and that's not defensive. That is fact. I am not some amazeballs Korean kid,
确认。
but I certainly do know how to play strategy games. The fact that I've failed this tutorial mission twice, and the tutorials in general 3 times, is absolutely ludicrous. No, it doesn't, Hazardous.
明白了。
Like, you can be jokey or whatever later. Right now, I'm not in the mood. This game is garbage. It is one of the worst strategy games I've ever played in my life. I'm pretty sure Civilization 2 is actually a better strategy game than this game. I take no enjoyment from admitting that. It is merely a statement of
知
fact.
道了。
So, let's rewind a second, because you notice I mentioned 2 other things. Well, what advanced strategies do you think I'm missing? I mean, this is obviously a leading question, so I apologize for the obviousness of it. There are none. I have literally already done all the strategies that exist in this game. I already picked up on several things that the game never actually tutorialized on. Like the fact that you're supposed to bounce... that was weird. Like the fact that you're supposed to bounce around officers in order to try and shore up areas and then immediately move them onto the next area. Or maybe the fact that you're supposed to try and hit the AI's projected zones in order to try and bait them into attacks and so forth and so on. I even figured out that there's a way to set this up over here to disallow the enemy from ignoring your attacks. Which, if you're paying attention, you're probably thinking, well, why didn't you do that last time? Because several of the characters I had were... And the tutorial actually mentioned this. Will disallow you from setting AI settings on your troops. So some of them will just straight up go after the enemy regardless of your AI settings. Or, more accurately, they don't let you set your AI settings, but you get the idea. They just kind of go for it. Because screw you. Also, we've literally seen 98% of the game at this point. There's literally only two things we have only seen a little of. One is the provincial thing, which actually doesn't even unlock until you've leveled up higher. The other thing is the events, which we didn't really look into because we weren't really going for most of them. That's it. Not what I would call a very impressive showing. I'd just like to reiterate, though, that the time I just failed, just before this, when I was going after this city, I had 2 armies actively sieging it and crushing it. The city had maybe 600 defenders left and was already burning. But then I ran out of time with the tutorial. Mission failed. So that's a very good question, Hazardous. So here's an interesting little factoid. Sorry, real quick. Kyron, I did put that towards WoW, and I do appreciate you being part of the show. Thank you. So, interesting factoid. How many people do you think funded this run? One is correct. Of the people who put money towards this, one person actually put money towards it. All the other ones were dealer's choice. So when that person shows up, I'm going to ask them why they funded this run. And then I'm going to ask them what they feel about canceling the run. Or rather, being done with the run. It's not canceling. I'm not going to list it as incomplete. We've seen the game. We've seen the gameplay. I feel satisfied in reviewing the game as is. Okay. So what just happened there is I just lost the tutorial again. So we're just going to go ahead and leave the tutorial. I'm not joking. We just lost the tutorial just there with that action. The enemy was able to just magic up 3 troops and send them after me immediately before I even saw them coming. Which is game. Because I was in maneuverability mode in order to try and build stuff. You're probably wondering why I was bothering with the tutorial. I had a weird theory that maybe if I advanced past, you know, this tutorial, a 5th tutorial would pop up. Maybe. But apparently I can't beat this tutorial. I admit defeat, game. You have defeated me. So, what do the difficulty settings do? Now, I want your all's opinion on this, because I actually got a list here, okay? So, allegedly, what the difficulty changes is how many troops the AI draft, how many things the AI constructs, how many plots the AI uses against you, how loyal the enemy's officers are, the suggestion success rate, the rate of resource income, and the ability to level. Now that sounds like decent difficulty options. But first, thank you, Ciela, very much. as always. Ironically, I agree with you, Hazardous, and I am not joking. So let's actually talk about some specifics. And you saw this. This is all on camera. So it's not like any of this is presumptive. And I'm putting that towards Perispera. Thank you, Ciela, very much. Hey, Hourglass. I am not enjoying myself. Thank you very much for the sub. If you want to put that towards something in particular, please let me know. So let me give my evidence here. First thing they mentioned, the AI doesn't draft troops as much. I don't know if you were watching the tens of thousands of troops that would swarm after me every few turns. Like, I would usually have maybe 2 turns of breather space before another multi-10,000 strong army would come charging after me. It was just wave after wave of it, right? Also, they were attacking me on 3 fronts simultaneously. Point number 2. The AI doesn't build any construction. I didn't show it off much, but I went and double-checked the VOD, and the AI was definitely building a whole lot of walls and armor, so that's whatever. Point number 3, the AI barely has any plots against you. Remember that dinky little kind of light greenish, grayish power in the southeast that I was trying to knock over and failed at because the orange got in the way? They were plotting against me and using that to steal my cities constantly and with repeated success. The enemy's forces have lower loyalty. All of the enemy troops had such high loyalty I couldn't even begin to try and actually pull any of them away from them. Suggestion success rate maxed out at 100% all the time. Can't speak to that. Resource income more plentiful. I can't really speak to that either. And Doctrine X gained more easily. Not sure about that. So I would say, at a bare minimum, 4 of those things, excuse me. No, 3 of those things are provable lies. A 4th one is a debatable lie. And the other 2 don't matter. Now, I don't think that's a negative. But what should probably be a plus to difficulty is absolutely not going to be, because I roll to disbelieve. I looked up a couple of reviews of this game, just for the hell of it. Just for curiosity. Gothic is still on the list, although who knows, maybe it'll be replaced by the Gothic remaster. It's getting announced today. Thank you again, Hourglass. I looked up a few reviews. What really amused me about those reviews is they all said the same thing. This game sucks, and is a must-buy for hardcore strategy enthusiasts. No, I'm not making that up. One of these things is not like the other. Look, okay. In deference to Hazardous, I know that there is a category and a concept of games that are... let's call them unintuitive. Games that are not particularly logical or, you know, sense-makey to play at a glance, but usually have something to make up for that, right? Well, I don't think this is that, because I think the amount of strategy on display is of the level of depth of Checkers. Of all of the many complaints I can and have leveled at games like, I can't think of the name of it, the stupid survival game that requires, 8 hours of real time to build a house, or, Dark Souls, or whatever else, I would never accuse those games of actually being crap or surface level, right? This is one of those basic I'm pretty sure Star Wars Empire at War has more complexity to it than this game does. And let's be clear, that's an insult. Don't look at me like that. I like Empire at War as much as the next person. Probably less so, actually, because I've reviewed it. But the point is, that game is not known for its complexity. So we're going to try something out here really quick. Oh yeah, one other thing I noticed. This actually amused me quite a bit. when I was looking up the difficulty options and what exactly they change and do, can you guess what kind of comments I saw most frequently about them? I'm just going to play this him again. I'm going to leave it uneasy, even though I doubt it's going to actually change anything. The most common comment I got was that hard difficulty is too easy. You owe it to yourself to consider hard as easy mode, and to buy the DLCs which unlock the higher difficulties, because that's the real way to play the game. Now, if there was actual difficulty involved, okay, I could kind of see some people saying that, because it's a really common trend that niche players of any game, of any genre of game, will get so good at it because that's all they play, that they tend to want super high difficulty stuff, right? That's a normal thing, and that's fairly logical. It's also the kind of thing that happens, admittedly to detriment of game design, when game designers will actually try to specifically reach out to those people and design their games for those people, which can work sometimes, and usually doesn't. Because usually it's not the niche games that are designed that way, it's the more widespread games, which they don't know what the hell they're doing, and so they design the difficulty wrong, and the whole thing just makes them complain anyways that it's too easy. Like, I've seen that several times. Hell, how many of you remember when Pillars of Eternity came out and everyone complained about how... There were many people complaining about how easy it was, and so they actually tried to adjust it to make it even harder, which made the sales kind of tank a little bit, because people were getting upset about how hard it was. Note that they fixed that with Pillars of Eternity 2. You know, honestly, Blade Travel, that wouldn't even surprise me. There's some other random stuff that I will admit I picked up on, like that. Look at that. That's so terrible. This is a game that came out 2 years ago. Look, I'm sorry. Look at the north end of the map, okay? Watch the trees. You seeing that? You see that pop in? Should I mention that trees are actually terrain relevant? So it's important to actually know where that kind of stuff is without having to scroll up to see that there's trees there? You know, honestly, Hazardous, at this point... I'm sorry, I need... To make my statement clear, there's nothing necessarily wrong with making a hard game cater to a hard audience, especially if that's kind of its shtick, right? You do that properly, it's what people are playing it for, it's what people are getting in for, absolutely. That's not what this is, and I want to be very clear about this. I don't want anybody spreading misinformation or lies, again, about me and my preferences difficulty in video games. Sick of it. So, the officer problem. You know how we were constantly officer dry? The intended solution, and I can't decide what I think of this, because on the one hand, this is an acceptable system, and on the other hand, I hate it. So hear me out, let me talk this out. Let's listen to some Flare battle music here. It was good. Thank you for asking, Mr. Red. So, the solution is what you're supposed to do is effectively constantly rotate your officers. Right? Yeah, exactly how it is. Try to rotate your officers so that you got the one person here, max it out a bit, move down here, make this place the gold place, make this place the blah, 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 blah. Now, that sentence by itself, period, end statement, is actually fine. I feel like that would actually be interesting and enjoyable to try and manage your limited officer pool to take care of your problem areas and try to, either bolster up your strong points or shore up your weak points, right? That sounds cool. Now, why do I hate that? Because of everything to do with the interface and the HUD. Who's the officer in charge of my capital city right now? Correct answer is nobody, but I only know this because I've been playing this game for a bit. So you have to actually hit this screen to see who's in charge. Now, I'm going to do something really quick. We're just going to put him in charge. There we go. Okay, so now that I've put him in charge, what are his stats? How much is he improving the what aspect of that city? What level is the city at right now? Did you know there's levels for the cities? Like, are you seeing my point here? The problem with this system isn't the system itself, it's that none of the controls or interface inform the system. If I could look at this screen right here and see, okay, let's just make believe for just a second. Let's assume all the towns in this area I currently have control over, right? So let's assume for a moment that I'm looking at these and I'm like, okay, so the port is at a level 3 commerce upgrade. And Zutai down there in the south is trying to push out agriculture. It's doing really good. Then the left town, which I'm not going to try to pronounce, they're actually producing tons and tons of troops, and so is Tan and the other two. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull my officer from the port and pull my officer from the agriculture because we've got good supply rate and we've got good gold rate going right now. So I'm going to push them up to the northern areas and try to improve the barracks to get more troop production. And then all of a sudden the bouncing officers thing is no longer as much of an issue. Especially if it's easier to actually do. I mean, in a situation like this, it should probably literally be drag and drop. I should literally be able to be like, and just, okay, obviously it's moving the camera, but like, drag the officer up to the new town, and done. Instead, to even see any of that information, I have to pull up this screen, and then this screen. This tells me the level of the specific commerce, agriculture, and barracks, as well as the stats of the person in question. And only by actually selecting it do I see the level of progress they're doing, which is relevant not just to their stats, but I found out there's actually substats, which aren't even shown here, that also help to boost that. So you just kind of have to pay attention to that. Then I have to be like, okay, let's see what we got up here. And let's drop this other person. Like you, there, go. Plong, and then drop it. You get my point, right? And no, Robostall, there's no option to make all this stuff visible anywhere. Now, the other thing that I saw a lot of people saying is that it's really important to claim towns, even if you can't develop them or conquer the surrounding territories. Which, I'm not sure I agree with. So let's talk about something else here, shall we? Check this out. So, you know what? I'll demonstrate. Give me one turn to demonstrate this. Let's get a conquering force going. Yeah, let's get Jackass on this. Unfortunately, he can't do any of the good strategies, but that's okay. So, ignore enemy contact. Disallow pursuit. Actually, we should probably allow pursuit. So, relay. This is a good time to mention something I haven't really talked about yet, but it's been irritating the entire game. Did you know that this game also has another problem a lot of games of this type have, which is the acknowledge and back commands change depending on which menu you're in? Now, I've already kind of started to get used to this, but one of the reviews I was watching was specifically playing the PS4 version. And it's the exact same problem there. Which button on the PS4 controller is back changes based on which menu you're in. You know?
动身吧！即刻启程。那就出发吧。
It's a weirdly common problem, and I have no idea. Like, I would love to reach out to game developer and be like, why? Why in God's name would you ever change up what back is based on the menu you're in? What possible benefit is there to that? Yes, it is, S.A. Ross. I just realized they're in the wrong thing. 10 cent. You know what? Yeah, you know what? You're absolutely right. That's probably exactly what it is.
Go.
Alright, hold on a second. So I actually screwed up. But let's keep doing this. Gotta get as many officers as it'll let me. I also found out that almost everyone has like a small bundle of officers early on. And then you're lucky to get one officer a year, if that. Like, for the rest of the game. For a bit of perspective, a year is about 40, I think, turns. To give you an idea of how long that is to go without an additional officer. Also, officers can and do get old and die. Yes, before you're thinking about it, it is actually possible in this game to literally run a deficit of officers. To lose more officers than you gain. I am half tempted to just go buy Total War 3 Kingdoms and play that instead. I'm not actually going to do that, but, you know. Tempted. Tempted. If it wasn't 60 bucks, like if it was on sale, I'd probably have already done that. And just see if anybody noticed. I've actually never played Total War 3 Kingdoms, obviously, since I don't own it. Come on. There you go. Damn it, Hazardous. You know what's really funny here? You see how I'm having to do each of these clicks manually? Like, I'm kind of used to it, but that doesn't make it good. But here's the really strange and screwed up thing. Did you know this game has auto-assign as a concept? Like, check this out. You know what? I feel like not actually designing all those things and doing that manually. So, there you go. Done. Okay, it doesn't have the other because they're all busy searching. But trust me when I say, lots of people could be put out there if I had them available right now. Oh, I actually can't do that right now because I don't know any orders. But you get the point, right? It has an autofill button. Why doesn't it work? So, I told you I'd show off why I disagree with the fact that the winning strategy is to just go grab towns, even if you can't develop them or conquer them. You see that port? That port is generating 0 gold, 2 supplies, and 0 troops for me. Why? Because of its possession stat. So there's 2 things that make villages worthwhile. How much possession you have, aka that's how much territory you control, that's the map that's painted, and what its specific levels are. That's the 3 things you can level up with your officers. Possession can be done by troops, but by about the time you get to mid-game, you are completely bogged down in troops, as I myself have already shown. So you need officers to flesh that out, because officers will gradually gain terrain. It's actually a stat they have. It's called Conquest Stat. But you don't have enough officers. So that town is effectively useless. In fact, I think I'm literally net negative on this town right now. Yes, I am literally losing money owning that town right now. And of course, anybody with even just 1,000 troops and the worst general in the world could walk up and take that town effortlessly. I don't even know what to say at this point, you know?
出发！即刻启程。
You can send multiple people to try and recruit one person. You can't send them at the same time. And it costs you regardless of how that turns out, but you can try. Like, at this point, there's just so many little dinky things that are just wrong about this game. This guy can't even do the correct stance. What the hell, dude? Can you do the correct stance? There you go. All. Yes, go. Go conquer some crap. I don't know. Total War 3 Kingdoms apparently came out just 2 years ago, so that would have been after Warhammer 2, I think? But before Warhammer 3, obviously. I'm trying to think how modern that is, because Total War games vary pretty wildly in quality, in my experience. Like, even the more modern Warhammer games have some, you know, issues.
非常感谢。
No kidding, Blade Ball. Hi, Microsoft guy. Please don't burn me. Like, I love the Total War series in concept. I really do.
我定会忠心效命。
But I have had issues with it. It depends. That's the really messed up thing. It's like they change their mind each edition and vary up things, which I suppose is actually a good thing.
报告。
But it does mean that every now and again I'm like, You know my favorite thing about Total War Warhammer 3? Red. Points if you get it. Okay, so hold on. Let's assign some people. So this is a port. I know that, so I'm just going to go ahead and get my highest int person here, which is you. Did you know int matters for warlords? It changes how often, you know those little events that pop up in the middle of combat? It changes how often those proc. Let's get some agriculture going there.
谨遵命令。
So here's a funny little thing. I was playing around with this. You can actually send anybody to recruit. It doesn't really matter all that much. But what's really messed up is if you don't send someone to train, all your troops come out with minimal morale. Would you like to guess what happens with minimal morale troops? I bet you can guess. I have a feeling you can figure it out.
尽悉一切。
I was actually poking at that just to experiment off camera. And it was actually funny to watch, because what happened is this 10,000 strong army goes stomping after this dinky little 800 army, encountered the enemy, and then immediately, and I mean without even attacking them, turned around and ran at full tilt back to the base. And I can just picture it, right? Like, I could picture the troops. All right, men. Wait a minute, is that the enemy? Run!
走吧。
I
出征！
That would be funny, Blade Tavol. It's an army of just a few hundred PCs, and it's like, oh god! Like in a Dynasty Warrior games, I could see that happening, you know? No mercy and all that. So let's get our satellite states going a little bit earlier this time. If I can find my general. Where is he? Do I not? Oh my god, I don't have my general yet. Okay. Well, You are now my general. Congrats. Have fun. Go claim that city. For the Empire and all that. I like how that guy refused to join me twice, actually. And then when I finally recruited him, he's like, oh, I would love to join you. Notice they are once again focusing on that stupid little river town. I think I'm just going to leave it alone this time. Until I can actually trap it properly. Which means I need you to go back. Go, like, over here. He's heading south, he's heading north. I could send out a home army. That's actually probably not a terrible idea. Switch tactics slightly, go that way. Basically, yes, Crow. I'm testing if player knowledge is going to change any of this. I don't think it is. Like, I guess my overall point is I think this will go a little bit smoother, but I don't think it's going to make the game better. And I really can't pull the plug on this run until Venture shows up. It's not how that works. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Damn it, I keep getting songs with... There. We are, Yep, okay, good. Oh, there he is! That's why I couldn't send him into the troops. Because he's busy training. You know what? Hang on. Stop doing that. You do it instead.
明白了。
Yes, welcome to hell.
怎么了？
Okay, so let's see if we can actually build something. Just you know, for change of pace here, right?
好吧。动身吧。那就出发吧。那就出发吧。那就动身吧。出发。出发。这就出发吧。
Oh, sorry, I did mean to ask Cassius. One moment, let me
动身吧。
finish up this turn's actions. There we go. Killzone Trilogy, you got it. And thank you for being part of the show. My favorite part about all this is that we are still having trouble with the exact same spot we did the entire last game. It's a different faction and everything, and they're still like, no, no, must have. post them there.
交给我吧。
Oh no, everybody, I've been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. I need to immediately respond to that in order to make sure that I get my proper diagnosis. Jesus Christ.
出发。
即刻启程。
Yeah, I know, right, Kira White Nose? That's incredible. I'm impressed, honestly.
动身吧。
Okay, so... let's set up our officers a little bit here. I definitely want more troops. Troops.
请交给我吧。 我会让你知道。
Okay, I'm gonna have to change playlists. This keeps playing songs that are probably not cool to play on stream. You want to join us?
我愿倾尽全力。
Sure.
我愿倾尽全力。
Why is there a fail chance on recruiting officers? I mean, I guess... okay, let me walk that back. It would make sense if there's a fail chance based on statistics I can actually see and interact with. But instead, it feels like it's literally just a coin flip. Like, did you recruit him? Nope. Sucks to be you. But why didn't I... no. But I had money. What more do you want from me? Okay. You know, you're probably absolutely right, Blade Ball. I mean, the enemy starts off with way more stuff than I do. Although, if you're paying attention, last time I was holding my own against the Yellow Turbans pretty well. And then the He just decided to declare war at me with no provocation and no warning. And that was just kind of the end of that. There wasn't a lot I could do about that at that point.
那就出发吧。出发。
Don't follow them. Don't follow them. Good boy. Good boy.
请过目。
Well, it's only $6? That's less than a burger. Sold!
有何贵干？遵命。那就出发吧。即刻启程。出发。
我出发了。
出发。那就走吧。
Hey, Ventures, we need to have a chat.
即刻启程。
So, Hazardous, do you want to ask Ventures the relevant question?
动身吧
There's。actually two, but you know.
出发。跟上。我愿倾尽全力，誓死效忠。
Okay, I'm going to be honest, I was going to be a little more polite about it, but no, that's pretty much the question.
请看，
Good withdrawal.
交给我吧。
Yeah, that's what I thought. I was pretty sure I remembered you mentioning you haven't actually played this game.
即刻启程。即刻启程。
That's true, Bragwin. That is something of a tradition here. Well, I mean, you do deal with environmental stuff, Hazardous, so... Nah, it's too many steps for that joke. The joke I was going for was that, you know, idiots would think that that's a, you know, that's a court gesture kind of thing. Like, ha ha ha, you know. Don't worry, Robostall. It's coming. It's coming. Yeah, we all remember Quest 64. In fairness, Quest 64 was Quest 64. So what else is there to add to that? Okay. So the South has no officers. We are training, right? Yes, we are. Okay, good. No, you're right. I've said it before and I've said it again. There's a difference between bad that can still be enjoyed and bad that can't. Yeah, Shattered Universe. Oh my god, that was just awful. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I need 6 to properly develop the southern area. No, yeah, you're absolutely right, Hazardous. You're absolutely right. It's just yikes. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's all of my officer corps right now, but let's go ahead and send them all south.
那就出发
Get the
吧。
bread basket going again. Say thank you to Silver Mask. Thank you, Silver Mask. I will jot that down for Bioshock 2. Oh, Venters, if only you knew the horrors I've seen. So let's ask you the second question, Venters. When can I quit the game? And I'm dropping all joking and all memeing and all everything to make this very clear that I mean this with blank sincerity. You funded this game, Venters. Kind of by yourself. Every other donation was from Dealer's Choice. So this is your decision. Sorry, I'm getting some paperwork done in the background here that I forgot to do earlier because I spent my entire lunch break researching this game. Doing my due diligence because that's my job. Okay. 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 I will take that as your order, Venters. We'll see how this goes. How are we doing? We're doing okay financially. Not great, actually, but we're doing okay-ish. We haven't gotten the breadbasket going yet, so that's part of the problem. I am absolutely serious about it, Venters. I'll do the math on it later. I'll even make a note about it right now. Venters to Wildermyth, which may not suck as a... Okay, I'm sorry. I had to bring the memeing back in. You gotta joke a little bit, right?
有使者到访。
You... He is demanding I attack. Where is that? There. I really cannot make that happen. You haven't played well. What? Yeah, I did turn it. I was just thinking that, Crow. I did turn him down last time. Thing is, I'm not sure I have the troops. So I guess let's find out. Let's just say yes. I accept, of course. Let's see what happens when we fail to follow through on that, because we do not have the troops to assault that city. We don't have the anything to assault that city.
报告。 赶进不进。
Get out some gold to make sure people are loyal. Automatic forbidden list. Anything Venters funds but hasn't played. I'm doing much. I have been draining them of forces. So that's something, right? That counts for something. Okay, so he's grabbing.
你找我吗？
You go ahead and head back.
知道了。
That's a good question. That's a very good question. We should have our people in place here now. Which we do. Perfect. Okay, so that's going to be... I want... you to get some more finances going. I want you to get some supplies going. Yeah.
谨遵命令。 交给我吧。
That's what I thought. That's fine, honestly. We'll put in you. You're a dumbass. Start building up the southern flank. I need officers to build up the northern flank. Which I absolutely do not have. So we're going to do what I mentioned earlier. We're going to bounce people around.
交给我吧。
And I bet we don't have the officers to send up north. Like at all. Oh, I actually have a few. Okay, hang on. So, let's send a few people north. We're going to need at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No, 6. We need at least 6 people up north. So let's send... let's send those up. As I've already pointed out last time, maybe you didn't see it, Robostall, our ability to interact with foreign nations is practically non-existent. Like, we can dissolve an alliance, form an alliance, increase goodwill, but these options don't always exist. Sometimes they're just grayed out like this. Also, they don't always succeed, on top of other problems. I do get the feeling this is much more focused on the military side of things, because more of the gameplay is centered around, you know, the actual combat. But even that feels a little bit threadbare, if I'm being honest. Start getting the barracks round going. We are training, right? We are. Okay, good. Gee, I sure wish there was a way I could check that at a glance without having to... Anyways. Yeah, like, you know how in the Total War series you can confederate other forces and it sucks, but you can at least do something with it? You can't do that in this one. It's not even an option. Let me just say right now, Venters, I recommend you not play this game. In fact, I've been reading up a bit on a little bit on it, and you know, again during my lunch break. Near as I could tell, the one immediately previous to this one is substantially better, but 12 is apparently the one that's really good. I don't know. Have you played 12? Which is, I'm gonna ask you. Yeah, you want Three Kingdoms? Go play Total War. That's a good question, Loke. I'm not sure. Oh, that's right. 12 is... That's another thing. These games are very clearly not made for a Western audience. I don't mean, like, in terms of style or approach. I mean, literally, like, some aspects of the game. It's the rare stuff still isn't properly translated. Or isn't translated at all. And as you were just pointing out, not all of the versions of this game have even come out in the West. So yeah, that's cool. Okay, do we have... Nope, they're not here yet. Okay. Oh, they're not there. Okay. What? What? Oh, I've been promoted. Yay! That's cool. Okay. Actually, we'll wait a second. On both, I suppose? Yeah, okay. We have very few troops right now. Probably because we spread out so much, but honestly, I think that's going to work out best long term. Just need more troops coming in. I'm curious of something.
已经迫不及待了。
That's a shame, if I could be bold. One of the things, I've said this before and I'll say it again, it always kind of irritates me when a more modern take on a previous game is actually worse than the previous game. I know that happens semi-frequently, but it shouldn't, you know? The newer game should be better. It has the newer tech and the newer resources and
请看，
modern design philosophy and all the other things, right? Why is the newer game worse? I mean, I get it. I do understand why. It just irritates me, because it shouldn't be. I suppose that's naive of me, but whatever. And yes, we will, with 100% total certainty, finish this game today. I'm just trying to build up back to the point which I was at previously in order to kind of get some stuff going here. So let's actually do this first. I mean, based on a lot of the issues I've seen, especially the interface, it really feels to me like this is just thrown together, to put it as nicely as I possibly can.
交给我吧。
Oh no, you're right, Venters. I mean, which is a better game, Final Fantasy XII or Final Fantasy XIII? That may sound like an unfair comparison, but I mean, think about it. So let's get a breadbasket going there. No, it wouldn't surprise me, Blade Traval. It could also be part of the FIFA thing. Now, I know what you're thinking. Ah, you mean, you know, lazily throwing out new stuff? Not quite. It's a little more complicated than that.
我知道了。
The problem is, there's another thing, layer to the FIFA problem. Oh my god! That is a 28,000 strong army that's coming from my northern flank. I have 3,000 troops up north. What?
合适。
Anyways, there's this weird expectation, which I call weird. It's very common, actually, that if you don't put out, you know, X game or X, you know, whatever, it'll talk specifically games. If you don't put out a game of certain type every so often, it causes issues. Viewer interest, player interest goes away, player trust goes away, executives start to get nervous. Investors start to get nervous, etc., etc. This is a problem. This is not a new problem, by the way. This problem goes back to the NES and the SNES era as well. You know, when's the new Mega Man game coming out? When's the new Final Fantasy game coming out? When's the new Madden game coming out? This has been a very, very common trend. And so in several cases, they're effectively being forced to push this stuff out because it's expected of them. And if they don't have the time or the interest or the availability, well, then you tend to get something out that's whatever. And yeah, again, this does also affect other franchises, like movies and the like. A damn shame, honestly, because it's pretty much universally a waste. If I can just rant for 1 second, one of the things that irritates me the most about it is the fact that most of the people who are making these complaints are doing so to the detriment of the thing they want. It's the I want it now, but I want it good argument, put simply. Why are they not? Okay, there, never mind. Just... You know the one. Yeah, exactly, Kira. That's exactly where it's at. Yeah, it's, as cynical as it sounds, there's at least some kind of expectation if you take forever, or, sorry. If you don't take forever, but you throw out some crap, well, that's kind of expected, because, you just threw something out the door. When you take forever, and it's still crap, then people get really upset. That's actually related to the it takes too long for something to come out problem I've referenced many times. So, yeah, I'm about to get stomped, and there's nothing I can do about that. Just nothing I can do about that. So... yeah, we're not going to finish the tower in time.
报告。
Yeah, let's just
交给
retreat
我吧。
before we die. Lose troops for no reason. Yeah, actually, Cyberpunk is a good example. It's funny, because one of the comments I got on the Tales of Arise video was that some people complained the game was too stretched, and some people claimed the game was too rushed. And they said that something's wrong, because those are two incongruent things. What I don't think they really figured out was that that's absolutely the truth, though. The game was rushed and stretched. In fact, the fact that it was rushed is why it was stretched, as I talked about during the run. Not that I expect everyone to watch every minute of my streaming, but you get my point. Yep, nope, here they come.
我会让你知道，后土为何强大。
Run, run, run. Okay, they ran, they ran. Well, time to lose the Northern Territory to those assholes. Yeah, that's a siege from hell.
怎么了？
I don't even have troops to reinforce them. That's just we're just about to lose the North. That's all that's about to happen. We're about to lose the North. Wow. You know what irritates me most? The argument can be leveled, somewhat fairly, sometimes not, that I don't give games a chance in some cases because they're too irritating or frustrating, or I'm just not interested or invested or whatever. But what irritates me is when I really try very hard to give a game a chance, and go way out of my way to go out of my comfort zone, and to try it again and again and again, waste my time on it, and I still fail, like is about to happen here. Now, this isn't going to be a game, but they're going to sweep the northern area, and I'm just going to lose 1/3 of my forces. And I don't really have the ability to do anything about that other than to flee. I just do not have the troop production to be able to deal with these people who have 70,000 troops in reserve and 25,000 troops in the field. That's a good question, Crow. I'd say, I don't know, maybe like 20, 30% of it. I get the really weird feeling that what they want me to do is to just sit here and, let's be honest about it, be bored for a very long time while I just sit and hold the gates until historical events happen that change the framework of the geopolitical situation. I think that's actually what they expect of me. Like, I could see it. I could zoom out a little bit and see the next decade or so of game time and be like, yep, that's... They just want me to hold up. Just hold up. And hit next turn over and over and over and over again. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to move literally everyone out of the Northern Territory. Just all of them. We're going to evacuate the place entirely. Not that many Venters. Most of them are DLC. There are 3 actual scenarios in the game, and all the others are just different start dates along the history. Now, I hate to lose 2,000 troops, but I don't think there's anything else I can do about that. See, here's the problem with that. While I get that, that doesn't really make it more interesting to me. Because here's the thing. A good 4X game would have that scenario, and would have stuff for you to do while you're waiting, while you're holding, while you're, maintaining the line, right? So you're like, okay, I got the troops, and I got the things, I got the walls, and I got the towers, and I'm just sitting here trying to hold what territory I have and build it up in order to be able to eventually turn things around. But here, the only thing I could do is, okay, so, hang on. Let's make sure if someone's in all the towns. Yep, someone's in all the towns, and they're all buffing everything. Yep, okay. And that's it. Ironically, for a strategy game, what I usually refer to here as the strategic layer of the game. In other words, this is the point in time at which you have stuff to do that doesn't involve direct combat, or core combat, if you will. Building up your city, or managing your diplomatic relations with other nations, or reaching out to city-states, trying to do any federated stuff, like in Stellaris. All that stuff, that's the strategic layer. Who am I playing as again? Sun Yong? I don't know how to pronounce any of this. Bob? Are we playing as Bob right now? It's funny, when I hear Chinese names, I have no problem with them. But when I read them, I got nothing. So yeah, we just left behind a few thousand people to die. Because that's just that. There's nothing I can do for the North. Nothing. So we're just going to leave them to their deaths. Volunteer troops. So here's those events. We've actually had that happen before. Still not enough to deal with that, but, whatever. Honestly, wouldn't necromancy be really good in a game like this? Think about it for a second. It's already tile-based, right? So imagine, you remember when we were fighting tens, probably hundreds of thousands of kills in this spot right here, the last game? Imagine, each time a troop dies on a tile, it, increases the corpse value of that tile. And it just increases, and then you send a necromancer over and... Woo? Yes, actually, it's the place we were trying to conquer last time and failed at. You know what I should do? Where's Bob? Yeah, you. So I'm gonna send you with a couple of troops. Your job is to go take that hill fort. And then eventually that other spot, too.
出征。
Oh no, we're losing the city that I left completely undefended and abandoned completely. Oh no, we're losing the city that I abandoned completely. No. What error? Oh no, we lost the city I abandoned completely. No.
请看，
I'm rather fond of it too, Yura. It's some of my favorite atmospheric music of the recent era. Alright, so I'm going to go out with my full troops. I'm going to cancel that because I hit the wrong thing. I want arrow formation. There we go. We're going to build more arrow towers because, as I just mentioned, we're going to hunker in a bit.
立刻出发！
You know it, Hazardous. They're going to open up the bread box and just find spiders. Just nothing but spiders.
建造吧！在跟上！
Damn. I'm apparently too slow to take Wu. That sucks.
请看，
Well, whatever. It's okay. We might still take the hill fort before that becomes an issue. We're working on it, Locals. We're working on it. It's gonna take a minute to get down there. See, here's the ultimate problem, and this is one of the reasons why I'm going to be okay with finishing this game up today. I absolutely believe I could finish a round, a match, if you will,
怎么了？
but I don't think it's worth my time.
遵命。
You know? And Hazardous is absolutely correct. There's a lot of other games that this game has been making me think about, which are not this one. Which is,
请过目，
that's its own thing.
我在这儿。
Oh yeah, make sure to get those guesses in. Yeah, exactly, Blade Travel. Like I said, we've already seen the overwhelming majority of the content of the game. The only thing we haven't seen is this thing, which we need to rank up, aka level up, in order to access. That's kind of it. Really? Why can't I build there? No explanation is given for why I can't build there. It's actually really frustrating. I just can't build in certain areas. Why? Oh. Your guess is as good as mine. Too close to town? Maybe? I don't know. Also see how it keeps bugging out on me like that, which is just really weird. I'm not even sure what to make of that.
立刻着手吧！原地待命。请过目。有命令吗？
Whatever. Retreat. I was gonna build defenses, but I can't. Yeah, I know, right? So there's a gaming term. It's called feedback.
请看，
It's the game telling you something happened or something changed or that you did something. It's critically important for good game design. Oh, come on! They took the hill for it. You know what? You know what? That's officially it. They took the hill for it. I'm good. I'm good. This is a waste of my time. Let's do the audit. I feel comfortable with the review as of right now. It's sad, but it's true. Story. Just gonna skip past the overwhelming majority of this here. Oh yeah. Let's lock down the guessing game really quick. That's true, Hazardous. That's true. And, by the way, Ventures, I am sorry. But if it makes you feel any better, I'm not sorry about my mood or my opinion, because I don't decide that. I'm sorry that this game sucks. I'm sorry that this is a game that has descended in quality rather than incremented. I was kind of looking forward to this, too. Did I tell you that? You know me. I love strategy games. That's one of my bags. And I was just like, yeah, we're going to... I mean, Romance of the Three Kingdoms era. Get to pick up a faction and try to do my thing and get... Oh, man, I'm so looking forward to it. And, oh, okay. And the first 5 seconds of the game, when I fired it up... That's not true. The first 2 minutes of the game, when I fired it up, and saw the tutorial, and I knew in that moment that it was going to be a crap game. And there was just this sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach, like, oh no. No. No, come on. Surely. What did we put historical stuff under? It's okay, I'm sure. What's Wildermyth? I don't know. What genre is Wildermyth? Someone look that up, please, while I'm doing this. I need to look up, what's the name of that World War I game we played? Valiant Hearts, that's it. Valiant Hearts, there it is. Where did we give the... Ah, there it is. I sees it. I sees it. Yeah, that's it. So +3 to story. Now let's look at gameplay. That doesn't tell me the genre, Ventures. How do we feel about the enemy AI in this one? Yeah, see, that's kind of what I'm thinking. It feels a lot like a lot of the older strategy games where they literally didn't know how to code AI, so they just cheated. It feels a lot like that. I meant what I said earlier. It feels like a really early 90s strategy game. Focus on this spot. Send endless reinforcements. That's it. At the very least, I think that's not good. Like, I never saw the enemy try to outflank me, or try to encircle me, or try to chop up my supply lines, or try to cut off my ability to draw resources from my villages, or any of the other things you can do. Which has been only like 5, but still. Instead, they just wave after waved me in the face. But I have seen worse. I have no idea what was going on with that orbital strike. Or rather, I know exactly what's going on, but what I don't know is what to do about it, because that was an event. They triggered an event, and they just fired it off, and it magically changed the terrain and completely screwed over my entire strategy. I mean, if you were doing it on purpose, Ventures, you can tell me. It's okay. I'm here to judge. There's a value in reviewing bad games. Some people don't seem to understand that. The least valuable game I've ever reviewed? Anthem! No, that's not true. Enemy variety. I don't think that even qualifies here. There's no unit variety. Hi, Mikey. Welcome to the stream. You've chosen a very unusual time to pop in. We're doing an audit run right now. Or, excuse me, an audit of a run. Excuse me. I can talk. How replayable do we think this game is? Well, I think it's got some cool ideas. And some cool concepts here and there. And I'm about to give you the overall score for the game, so I suppose if you want to wait for that, I can do that. I did give that a plus, right? Yep, okay, I did. I do wish I could just replay it. Unfortunately, no, this is... so technically I've played the NES game and the SNES game, but for all intents and purposes, this is my first entry into the series. I'm going to do something in a minute here after I finish doing this. So this is going to sound absolutely bizarre. But I think the game should get a plus for replayability. Now, think about it. Think about it. Be fair for a moment. Think about it. The initial start dates and the multiple scenarios are legitimately different and varied, and each person you start as starts as a completely different scenario. Different officers, different location, different terrain. Fair is fair, you know what I mean? Oh. That's... No matter how much I feel about a game one way or the other, the goal is always to be fair. But that is actually it. That was the one I was going to debate with y'all. So that brings us to, well, hang on. Let me do this really quick. Let me do this. So that's options. It looks like. No, that's going to be under choices, isn't it? We've never actually done that before. Let's put that under S. We're going to make a new category for reviewing. Starting options. We haven't really run into a lot of games that even have those, but as we cover more 4X games and strategy games in the future, that's going to become more of a thing. Just make that category there. Yeah, like, you know, in EU4, you've got the different start options and scenario dates and factions you can play as. You can play this game on Steam. I don't recommend buying it. Let me just say that right up front. In like a strategy game that's more management situational, like say, think Frostpunk for example. Think about how you can set up the startup of a particular thing, or the different scenarios you could play through. Think about how in... Of course, I can't think of any examples right now off the top of my head. I really can't. I know there's games that do this. It's the commonality. How many city-states do you want on the map? What kind of world do you want the map to be? You know, stuff like that. You can tell this game has broken my brain because I'm sitting here trying to come up with something that's extremely easy and obvious to talk about. Okay, now we're up to date. So, that's +3 to story for some cool historical stuff, some neat little humor, and some cool visuals. That's cool. And -16 to gameplay. Yeah, that's not great. I think it drops the ball too hard and too often. It's too simplistic even when you get past the irritation. And I really feel like this game needed several more additional polishing passes in terms of controls, in terms of HUD, in terms of interface, in terms of balance, in terms of setting up something to actually do. And the problem is, as I already mentioned, we've already seen the overwhelming majority of the game. There's so little to do that we already were reaching the point where it was just hit next turn, next turn, next turn. Which, yeah, I know several other 4X games have the same problem, but there it is. So let's figure out the actual score for this game, shall we? I hope y'all picked a net negative number. No, Ross, I am not. Although, maybe I should. I'll think about it. No, I should. Yeah, we're gonna play Lufia tomorrow. I can't justify not spending the time getting through the queue. Honestly, I'd start Lufia 1 today. Let me finish the score. Let's figure out the score for this thing really quick before we move any further. I have a lot of options here, and I'm kind of debating what to do. That's almost 2 negatives per hour, by the way. That's a gameplay ratio of 26.47%. It's an interesting baseline to judge other 4X games by. I'm not actually joking. I fully plan to look at this review whenever we get to our next 4X game. What in the world? Oh, that's why. Sorry. There we go. There we go. Can I get a drum roll, please? Ladies and gentlemen, -7.46. For a bit of perspective, that puts it below Dragon Quest II, below Albion, but not quite as bad as Mummy Demastered or Just Cause 4. What's ironic is that's not that bad of a score, relatively speaking. Which just speaks to the game, doesn't it? It's just kind of there. If it was better designed, honestly, I think it might, well, it would never be a net positive, but it would at least be just kind of serviceable. This feels like a game they threw out the window to keep the franchise going. I feel like if this was actually polished, I would have actually enjoyed myself and would probably keep playing it for the next several days. As is, this game sucked. And that's a shame. So, I'm going to chop off, get a little bit of paperwork done, and then we're going to start Lufia 1. Screw it. So I'll see y'all in a bit.